And as I mentioned, we're recording this for educational purposes. So welcome everyone to our introduction to the Empathy Circle Facilitator Training. I'm Edwin Rutch. I'm a director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, and I'm located here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And as founder of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy, it's the largest website resource center for empathy related material on the internet. And we do all kinds of different projects on how to foster empathy and really create a more empathic world and culture. We're trying to raise the level of empathy in the world. And so glad that you're all joining us here. Let me give a little bit of an overview of what we're going to be doing today. And more people are popping in, I see, and you'll be letting those in. And let me just give a little screen share of our agenda today. So this is our overview for our for today. We're going to have a little bit of a welcome, which I'm doing now. We usually do participant introductions if we have less than 15 people. If it looks like we may have more, so we may skip that. We're going to be sharing about the training, and then we'll have some questions and answers. And then we'll show a little video clip on how to take part in an empathy circle and then actually hold an empathy circle, so you get some actual experience. And then we'll have a full group debrief at the end, and all that will take about 2 hours. So we still have a lot of people popping in. Everybody comes in a few minutes late. Maybe I should have waited a bit before starting. But yeah, so let me just share that about the Empathy Circle. That the Empathy Circle, is I find one of the best practices for developing empathy skills, learning, and it's based on mutual.
Right, probably going back to this.
If we could mute that, yeah. And so it's based on mutual empathic listening, and what we're going to be doing is giving a little bit of an overview of the website. We have a training website that actually, let's see, I guess we'll have to skip the intros. I'll introduce Bill. Are you here, Bill? I'm not.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, it's a big
Yeah,
screen.
and I just put the course link is on in the chat.
Yeah, so Bill is going to be giving an overview of the Empathy Circle training website, and just on this is the Empathy Circle is just a very basic, easy to use empathy building practice. I find it's one of the most effective empathy building practices available. It's very simple to start with, and even though it's simple to begin with, it's a lifelong to really master and deepen your empathy skills. And now Bill will be introducing the website. He just put in the link, and go ahead and.
Yeah, I'm trying. Sorry, it's a little. Okay. All right. So I have to do this a different way. Okay. And okay.
So Bill's going to be showing our website. The link is there. You can click on that link,
yeah,
and it'll bring up the website. And then Bill is also going to be doing a screen share of it.
Yeah, I will.
It. You okay with that, or?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I just had, like I said, there's that same problem that, but here we go. Okay, now I can go to this, share the screen, and this is what we need to see. Okay, and here we go. Okay, so welcome. This is where, if you click on that link, this is what you'll get. So I'll just kind of quickly go through this. This is an open source empathy training. And so we invite anyone to use this training curriculum to adapt it to your own needs. Edwin has said, and certainly, that this is a basic practice. So this is a practice that once you use, you can then fit into your own trainings in various different ways. There's no cost to take part. This is all free, both the cafes and also the training. But you can donate, you can see, to support the work. That's there, and that you can click on, once you get to this page, you can click on donate to support the work, and I'll take you there. This is one of the training cafes, the introduction cafes. This is part of your 2 circle prerequisites to take the facilitation training. We just want people to be familiar with the basics of the process, so we can go into the training. That adds another layer of complexity. So if you got the basics down, then you'll be well positioned for that. And so that's what this is about. Today, the topic will be, I believe, why are you interested in taking the training or anything, but always, as always, in an empathy circle, or whatever is really working you. So if you want to talk about what you had for breakfast, when it's your turn to speak, you can. Again, I mentioned the 2 empathy circle prerequisite. The time commitment, we do really feel we have no enforcement. No one will come to your door. But it's really important that if you make the decision to do that, that you do commit to the time. And that's 5 2.5-hour sessions of 2.5 hours each, and once a week. In addition, we'll have a weekly buddy call, which you try to do, which I think has really been, people really enjoy. And then also, if you can, it's optional to hold an empathy circle with your family, friends, people you pull off the street and force, I don't know. But anyway, do what you can. It's optional. And so the training path, this is, you won't necessarily, you'll go through it. We have a lot of trainers here, and people have taken the training. So you certainly can ask them what they feel about it. And but the fact that they're here, I think, says something. And so you can take the training as many times as you want. And the hope is that as you take it, you then become a trainee, you learn to present the training, the facilitation training, and then also, you can then hold your own and do this by yourself and spread the practice, because we feel that this sort of empathic communication needs to be really the basis of a culture of empathy and the basis of a better world. Okay, and then there's some modules there. You can take a look at some videos. There's all sorts of resources. Edwin has created one of the most, or the most extensive resource of empathy information, I think, on the web. And you're welcome to kind of look through there, as well as their reference links. Okay, and I'll stop sharing. And Edwin, did I miss anything?
I think that pretty much covered. I've been creating the breakout rooms, so we're pretty busy. Maybe
right.
Lou, do you want to say something? Can we tap into your expertise about the training?
Well, I'll just say the training really helps you understand how the structure of the empathy circle works, why it works the way it does, and why it's important to kind of hold the structure, and how the structure creates safety for people. And it also helps you practice, or begin to practice, how to deal with situations that happen in a circle. So, the empathy circle facilitation is pretty simple. It's a simple process. So it's very easy to learn to do after you've participated in a couple of them. You understand how it works, and you could easily hold one. But then there's also the question of, well, what happens if somebody kind of goes outside the process, or isn't enjoying the process, or is having, is really, let's say, angry or something. And how do you deal with people, situations in the circle that come up that can be difficult. And so the training addresses that. Yeah, and so we've been doing this for almost a couple of years, maybe 1.5 years, close to 2 years. And we've put a lot of people through the training. And so it's gotten it's been tested, and we've adjusted it based on feedback and from lots of different kinds of people. So yeah, I think it's pretty solid, and excited that all of you are here interested in it. We're very grateful when people come and are interested in trying to learn something new and create a more empathic society. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, Lou. And that's really the vision behind what we're doing, is how do we create a culture of empathy, which is to raise empathy, mutual empathy, as a primary social value. So that's really our underlying intention, because if we have a more empathic world, we really feel that that'll address, really foster greater well-being. It addresses conflict, social, political conflict, and is just empathy is just something that we all need as human beings on this planet. So I'm going to let me open that up for questions now. Is there any questions? If you could just raise your hand, or click on the little raise your hand button, either will do. Just any questions about the Empathy Circle or the training? Oh yeah, Shannon.
Hi there. Thanks so much. I just have one question. You mentioned a few different contexts in which one could bring in Empathy Circle, and I'm wondering if you could bring this into like didactics or teaching, and if you've considered that.
Yeah, there's empathy circles can be used in any where any people are relating to each other. So it's really good for your family, bring it into your family, have family empathy circles around the dinner table, or have special times that you set aside. It can be brought into the schools. Bill is actually a teacher and working on bringing it into the schools. So we just you want to say a few words about the schools, Bill?
Yeah, sure. I'll just say that what you'll find is that the conversational skills that you used in the Empathy Circle, you have 5 minutes, you have to organize your thoughts, you're listening to someone else, you're not adding your own ideas or anything like that. So you're really trying to, feel into what they're feeling. That is very consistent with literary analysis. And so you can write, and it's right in like, I'm in California, it's right in the goals, the California Department of Education state goals. So again, I'll put my email, and I have a Thursday 10 a.m. Where we talk about that. And, I'll be happy to help you any way you can, any way I can. Sorry.
Yeah, so that it's in the school context. I just imagine students having empathy circles with fellow students, and then they learn these skills. And in the playground, if there's a conflict, even with my nephews and nieces, we do empathy circles, and they're like 5, 6, 7 years old, right? So they get into a conflict, and I say, we have a conflict, what do we do? And they say, we have an empathy circle. So they learn these skills for having mutual empathic listening with each other. So if it works with the students 5 or 6 old, it can work in business context, in community organizations. We also use it for bridging political divides. So Lou, and who I guess has his hand up to speak, maybe he'll speak to that we take it out to political rallies where the political left and right are, battling it out. And we offer listening to both sides and facilitation. So Lou, sounds like you have
Well, I just wanted to add that empathy circle practice is also great for exploring one's thinking. So often it's thought of as we're listening to someone else, so it's mainly about understanding others, but actually the practice actually helps one explore one's own thinking about something. And it can be called anything. So I have contexts in which I just call it structured listening. You could call it structured discussion. You could call it anything. And so if you're in context where the word empathy, you're worried that the word empathy is going to scare people away, or they're going to think, oh, it's therapy or something like that. Yeah, you can call it whatever you want. The important thing is to follow the structure, because the structure interrupts our normal bad habits of listening to one another and speaking, and it really helps create safety for greater understanding and actually clearer expression over time.
So any other questions? Just physically raise your hand, or you can click that. Yes, Tiffany, Miss Tiffany. We're not hearing you. It's not muted, but we weren't hearing you.
Hear me now?
There we
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
This is my first meeting and I apologize for running a bit late, but I just want to know, is this the first of a series? Like, did I catch the first of the cycle?
So what this is an introduction to the training.
Mhm.
We have these ongoing intro cafes. So you get to just see what an empathy circle is about. You get to see what the training is about. And then we have cohorts, 5-week cohorts. And we have one that's starting next week. So if you want to take the training, that's what the training starts next week for 5 weeks. It'll be at this time period. And then we also have a cohort that's running right now on Mondays. And then next week we'll be holding this cafe on a Friday. So this is sort of the intro cafe. I don't know if that, so you just, and then as Bill was saying in the intro that there's, you need to take 2 of these intro cafes before you take the training. So is that?
Yes, it does. I just was wondering about the training times because I work midday to evenings.
It's it's in the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday, starting next week for 5 weeks. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions before we go into the how-to? Okay, then I'm going to show a 6-minute video. This is just an introduction on the basics of the empathy circle. It's I'll just do a little screen share here and share with sound. And at this point, we're going to lock the room, so don't let anyone else into the room unless they've dropped out and you recognize them, because yeah, just to and this is the intro. Here we go. I'm Edwin Rutch, founding director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. I'd like to welcome you to this short presentation on how to take part in a basic empathy circle. So next, let's look at the step-by-step how to take part. An empathy circle starts with 2 to 7 participants. Here on the screen, we have 4 participants, which I find is an ideal number. There are 4 basic roles, and the roles rotate among the participants as the empathy circle unfolds. 1, the speaker, is the first person to speak. 2 is active listener who actively listens to the speaker. There's the silent listeners, they quietly observe and witness. And the facilitator who organizes, schedules, and hosts the circle. They also do the timekeeping, and they have some experience with the process and help keep participants in the process. However, everyone has the responsibility to hold the process and the practice. So to begin with, the facilitator will start the empathy circle. They welcome the participants. They lead introductions if the participants don't know each other. The facilitator invites participants to give short introductions, for example, their name, where they're from, and something personal about themselves. The facilitator then reviews the empathy circle process to remind everyone how it works. They announce the discussion topic, if there is one. Even if there is a topic, you can always talk about what is alive for you. That is what is on your mind in the moment. And 5, they set the speaker time limits, perhaps 5 minutes, for example. And the facilitator then asks who would like to start to be the first speaker. So at that point, the participant volunteers to be the first speaker. As speaker, you select who will be your active listener. and you can select anyone that you want. You speak about the topic given or whatever is alive for you. And so you'll speak a bit until you have maybe expressed an idea or two, and then you want to pause to give the active listener a chance to recap what they understand that you are saying and feeling. If you say too much, the listener may have difficulty in reflecting it. As the active listener, you are listening to the speaker to get an understanding of what they are saying and what is important to them. You are giving them your full attention as a supportive companion on their inner journey and exploration. When the speaker pauses, you recap your understanding of what they said and how they feel by reflecting the essence of that in your own words. You can summarize, paraphrase, or even say the speaker's words back to them. Even though you may have a strong impulse to respond with your own ideas, judgments, analysis, advice, and sympathy, or even questions, resist the impulse to do so because these common responses block the speaker from moving along their internal journey. You'll be able to say whatever you want when it is your turn to be the speaker. If you don't reflect the understanding to the speaker's satisfaction, they can always say it again. Then as speaker, you check, do you feel understood to your satisfaction? If you do not feel understood, you can say it again, perhaps in different words. If you do feel understood, continue sharing. Again, after speaking a bit, pause to give your active listener a chance to recap their understanding of what you said. As the active listener, you again share your understanding of what the speaker said and meant. The cycle of speaking and reflecting continues until you, as the speaker, do not have anything else you'd like to say, or until you get a signal from the timekeeper. If you get a signal from the timekeeper, then finish up what you're saying in a sentence or two. After you get a final reflection, you can end your turn by saying something like, "I feel fully heard," or something like that to indicate you are done with your speaking turn. At that point, the roles then rotate. The active listener becomes the speaker. The person they select becomes the new active listener. For everyone having equal time, it is good to select someone that hasn't spoken lately, but it is your choice. The others in the circle become the silent listeners. This process of taking turns in speaking and active listening continues for whatever time is allotted for the empathy circle. And this was just a very short introduction. The best way to learn the practice is taking part and doing it. There is more in-depth material on taking part in an empathy circle and facilitating one at empathycircle.com. Thank you for listening. Okay, so it's the minimal introductions. Best way, as it says, is to just go into a circle and learn the practice by doing. So we're going to go into our breakout rooms. There's going to be 5 or 6 to a breakout room. I put into the chat window, why are you interested in empathy circles, and taking part in the empathy circle training, or whatever is alive for you. This, as Bill said, like whatever's on your mind, how is your day? You can always talk about anything that you feel energized about. Okay, let me make these rooms up here. We have, let's see, so the next is sort of the participatory. I see some people have dropped out, so I'll be juggling the rooms around a little bit before we go in. So we're going to have 4-minute turns. When you go into your circle, the facilitator will go around and just hear each person, your name and where you're located, and then we'll do a little bit of practice. We have about an hour for that, and then we'll come back into the main room. So let's see. Here we go. And you'll see whoever has ECF under their name will be the facilitator. And I might be juggling because some people are dropping out after this part. I may be juggling the rooms a little bit.
So Edwin,
yeah,
it's 1/2 hour. In other words, in 63 minutes time, it will come back.
yeah. In 63 minutes, we'll come back.
Okay.
So, and let me just change things around here. We have room 5. And 1 minute. Okay, I think we're sorry, just people have dropped out during this part, so the rooms have gotten smaller. So here we go. See you in the breakout rooms.
How do you get to the breakout rooms?
There should be a button that, you'll be actually staying here. There's one group staying with me, and
Okay.
you won't be going into a breakout room. I'll be facilitating this room here. Let's give it a second. Let me also bring up the stopwatch. We'll just give a second as people go into their rooms. Okay, so there we go. Hi, Kevin. So there's actually Helena should be going into another room, and Gloria. So they may be moving in a minute. Okay, so we can get started. We have 4-minute turns, and let me set that up here. Set. So who would like to start? I'll be the first listener, and you can speak on the topic, which was why are you interested in the Empathy Circle, the Empathy Circle training, or just empathy in general. And I'll keep time. You have 4 minutes. So whoever would like to start, you can start and speak to me. And I see Kevin jumped right in there.
I'll pass
Go
it.
for it. Okay, Linda, yes, go for it. And I'm listening. And you're
Okay.
muted.
Yes, thank you for being a gentleman, Kevin. I appreciate that. This is my second intro. I sent you a message, but anyway, I'm taking this because I am a mediator and an arbitrator. I'm retired, so now I get to do what I want to do, which is be a mediator and arbitrator. And I appreciate Zoom because I can do my work without leaving home.
So what I'm hearing, let me just like back what I'm hearing that you're a mediator and arbitrator, and you really appreciate Zoom because you don't have to leave home.
Correct, exactly. And I want to incorporate this empathy or empathic listening into the mediation, or my mediating skills is to be more of what we call in mediation an active listener, where you don't interrupt, you just pay attention and rephrase to make sure the client understands that you understand what they're saying. So that's basically my reason for taking this, plus some community involvement. I'm getting more and more concerned about our community and voting rights. I'm here in Texas. I'm sure y'all have heard about our people that escaped to Washington. So I expect for there to be some community dialogue around voting rights, and I want to be a participant and hopefully a facilitator.
Okay, so I'm hearing two things there. One is you wanting to help address the voting issue with the community, maybe bring communities together to have these dialogues. And the other is you want to get better at the active listening and empathic listening for your mediation that you're doing.
Exactly. Got it.
Is there more? You have 2 minutes still left.
All right. 2 for just me personally, because I do tend to interrupt people, especially when I'm on a roll, or the other day, I'm in a group of friends and I'm on the road telling a story, and one of the ladies, tried to interject, and I was like, wait a minute, let me finish what I'm saying. And I kept going when I should have just stopped and listened. And I thought about it later. And so later, because I talk a lot, I'm speaking or I'm talking to, and this is a social setting, and she interjected again, and I had sense enough to stop and let her say what she needed to say. It wasn't so much of an interruption as, we were having a social conversation, and I realized I was I was kind of taking over, which I do sometimes. So I need to be better.
Yeah. So in social situations, you tend to speak and sort of dominate the conversations.
yes.
You really want to be able to create more space to listen to others. And so you're just aware of that and wanting to develop that a little bit more.
You got it. And I'm finished.
You're done. Okay.
Yes, I yield my time to someone else.
You can just say, I feel fully heard, which means
I feel fully heard.
Okay. Excellent. So Kevin, since you had your hand up.
Hello.
Yeah. So yeah. Hey, Kevin. So yeah, for these community dialogues, I think the Empathy Circle could be very beneficial, especially we've brought the conservatives and liberals together into dialogues to talk with each other. And I think that's really what can heal the political rift, is to bring the sides together.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm hearing is that you feel as though the Empathy Circle can be very helpful with the different political makers in reference to opening dialogue, so they can both be heard and be listened to at the same time, and with a time to it.
Yeah, and and it's also for mediation. The basic Empathy Circle is a very foundational practice for mediation. So if you can bring parties together who are in conflict, be it even marriage, partners, family members, community members. So any sort of a mediation, if you can bring the parties together so that they can hear each other, you can't dominate, like Linda's saying, oh, I dominate the conversation. You've got like 5 minutes or 4 or 5 minutes to speak, so everybody feels that they have equal time. So that is something that kind of helps with the mediation, when everybody feels like there's a fair amount of time that they have.
So what I'm hearing is that this is a powerful tool for mediation, for relationships, for families, understanding that you have a short period of time, but you can actually be heard. It allows for you to think about your thoughts and also communicate them, know that someone's on the other side actually listening to you. And it just helps to build those relationships, help to mediate the conversation amongst people.
And then also everyone gets heard to their satisfaction. So you just keep speaking until the person really, somebody at least, your listener, is hearing you the way you want to be heard, to your satisfaction. So so it has a sense of equality in that everyone will be heard to their satisfaction. Yeah.
It definitely has that sense of equality, that self-satisfaction, that I'm hearing you and you feel as though I am hearing you within this process, where a lot of times, when we said earlier, people are talking and talking, but no one is listening. This provides that solid platform for that to happen, to be heard, to be listened to, and know that someone is listening.
Exactly. And I feel very heard by that. Thank you, Kevin. Fully heard.
Miss Stephanie.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm good. Thank you so much. I'm here because
so Kevin's going to speak to you now, and you're just going to reflect back what you heard him say. So he's going to speak a little bit, he's going to pause, and then you're just going to reflect back just what you heard, understood that he said. So go ahead, Kevin.
Okay.
So I'm enjoying the Empathy Circle. This is my second time, and I looked at this as a platform to discuss things that are going on in the community. One as COVID. As we look towards September, how is it going to affect the various communities? In reference to people going back to work, myself, I'm lucky enough to work at home. So we're still going to stick to the hybrid model, but I still have to work with a lot of people who are not happy with going back to the office. Pausing. I don't give a lot, I can re-chunk it.
So I'm hearing that you're here to better understand people as it relates to like mental health and emotional well-being?
Okay.
Is that what you're kind of saying? Okay.
Well, that's part of it. That's a bigger picture, yes. So I'll try to get, I'm using the circle to strengthen my skills, to have open dialogue with people who are uncomfortable with conversation. One part being COVID and the future looking of September as it relates to people going back to work. How would that affect people's mental well-being? Yes. How they're struggling with that. A lot of times I find I'm the sounding board for a lot of people. And I'm not always sure what to tell them other than what I'm hearing.
So go ahead and reflect what you hear Kevin say, Tiffany.
Yeah, basically to learn how to better talk to people, particularly as it relates to COVID and re-engagement in the, next month, or just in going back to work, or in their interpersonal relationships.
Right. No, so yeah, I definitely feel heard. I'm going to yield at this time.
Okay, you feel fully heard. So then it's Tiffany, you choose your listener, and you'll have 4 minutes to speak.
I'll choose Shannon. Hi, Shannon. I'm here because, I've been told that I have empathy for people, but I don't really feel like I get it back from people. And so perhaps this is not so much to teach me how to facilitate, but just a group, but just to get it from people that I work with, or, who I hang out with, my supervisor, or, anyone before I bop her. I'm just joking. But yeah, I just want to get that same empathy back that, people say that I put out. That's all.
Right. So what I'm hearing is that you feel like you often, or at least you're told that you do empathize with other people, and yet you don't often feel that way, that kind of same thing coming back, especially from your supervisor. And it's can be, frustrating for sure.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Shannon. I feel fully heard, and I'm done.
So you select whoever you'd like to speak to, perhaps Melinda, who hasn't spoken yet.
Sure. So Dr. Melinda, do you want to be the listener?
Sure.
Hi again.
Hi again. That's what I was saying. Hi again.
So I'll just speak. So it's my turn to speak. Is that right? That's okay.
You've got 4 minutes.
Great. So I'm happy and grateful to be here again. This is my second Empathy Circle, and it's I'm glad to have found this organization and be getting involved. What's alive for me right now? Well, I've been thinking about how to bring this into the classroom because I'm a professor, and I just think it's so fascinating how like Miss Tiffany was saying, how helpful it is to actually feel heard, but how that also helps you to think more clearly about what's going on in your own mind. And so it helps you understand what's going on in your own mind and other people's minds, which I think has a lot to do with education. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So, Shannon, I heard today that you're excited. Your second one. Now you're kind of moving on to other things and kind of exploring how to bring it into your education part where you work at a university or something, because you just extremely are alive to find out and how to put it together of how it works with other people as well as you this time, it's that kind of where you are with it.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about. That, and also as a therapist, just as Kevin, I think, and Miss Tiffany mentioned, just the mental health aspect of it, and just how helpful it is to somebody's just mood to feel like someone's hearing them. So just kind of playing with those ideas, I guess.
Yeah. So you're starting to play with some good ideas about how mental health ties into it, and just try to see how to bring it in and discuss those things as a therapist with your students and stuff in your class, and see how you can merge it together. I like that.
Yeah. So I feel very heard. I'm not sure that there's more going on for me right now, thinking about this, but it's just interesting to see everybody's process, kind of everybody's answer and reason for being here. And I think that's all for now, actually. So.
Great. Okay. Well, I see that Miss Helen has left the room, so I'm going to pick Miss Linda if she doesn't mind listening. Okay, great. I think Miss Linda hasn't listened yet, right? Okay. So well, it is my second circle. I am ecstatic to be here today. Not too much is going on this week. I guess what have me alive this week is that I get to go back to school and see my little kids on Tuesday. And I'm excited to see how to bring this to them, especially since some of them are elementary kids and some of them are high school. So I get to kind of play with the empathy circle with the little kids, and then play with them with the high school kids. So I'm fascinated about how to bring it in there. I have all these thoughts of what I can do and what I can't do. So right now I'm just living on this high thing of how to bring it into working with my kids. So that's
okay. Well, Dr. Melinda, what I heard you say is, first of all, this is your second round, and you're excited about this empathy training and an empathy circle, and you are excited and anxious to bring this to your profession, I assume, as a teacher, and you have elementary and high school students. And what I heard is that you're going to try this empathy circle out with the elementary and then graduate to the high school.
Yeah, definitely. I have more elementary than I have high school, but sometimes the little ones, they feel like they're not being heard. So that's why their behaviors kind of change in the classroom. So if you can incorporate it with the little ones, and then you can kind of give something to the teachers. I have some training with the teachers and stuff. Then I think it'll kind of bridge that gap from helping the kids with their behaviors when they're in class versus how they react outside the class, which will give the teacher at least some reprieve from all that behavior. So yeah.
And now what I heard you say is that the elementary, I want to say little ones, but the elementary students, sometimes when you think that when they think they're not being heard, they act out, or they manifest that in other ways that can be a challenge to other teachers. So if you can show them how it works, and for the elementary children, if they feel like they've been heard, you should see a different manifestation of that. And you hope that you'll be able to share that with other teachers.
Correct. I do. And I do feel fully heard. This is my first time actually saying how I want to bring it into the classroom. So definitely I do kind of feel fully heard in everything. So thank you so much, Miss Linda. I am done. Mr.
Thank you
Edwin,
for being a teacher.
I'm actually not a teacher.
Oh,
I'm not a teacher. I'm a social worker in the school. So I do I strictly do behavior with the kids in the school. I'm strictly a school social worker. Yeah, okay. I couldn't do it.
Do you want to reflect that last part about her being a social worker, etc.?
Yes. What I heard Dr. Melinda say was that she's a social worker, and so that gives her the opportunity to work with the elementary and the high school students. So, and it's all about behavior, or her focus is behavior. So again, using the skills that she's going to learn from the empathy circle, she hopes to incorporate that into her profession.
Great.
definitely.
That was the time too, it sounded like you felt heard, so.
Yeah, I definitely felt heard. Actually, that little bit was just a little tidbit because she did this, but
Yeah,
I
I
did
shouldn't
have
say that.
something.
I do
Okay.
talk too much.
So you're select your listener, Linda, so.
Okay, listen, I just received a phone call that I have to take, and I might have to leave today's circle. So I do know I start training on the next Saturday. So I
It's
don't
next
know, but I'm gonna have to
Saturday.
step away. I'm gonna have to step
Okay,
away for a
sure.
minute so someone
Go
else
ahead.
can go. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, you'll want to mute. Oh, there you go. There you go. All right.
I'm sorry, I need to do what you said?
Now you select your listener. You're up again. You have another 4 minutes.
Oh,
We
okay.
keep going for the time. We have about 40 minutes still left. We just keep going around
Okay.
for the next 40 minutes.
I'm gonna pick Shannon. And again, the topic is why I'm taking this training.
Or anything that's alive for you, which means anything on your mind. Yeah, it's totally open.
You know what? Let me just go back to why I'm taking the training, because I was thinking about it when everybody else was talking, but I was listening too, and I was thinking that this must be where I'm supposed to be at this particular time in my life, because it was just yesterday and the day before I'm Googling empathy training, and I'm trying to, because I participated in this before, but I had other things going on. I was like, I can't, commit to the training. And so I was Googling empathy training, and everything was popping up, and it wasn't this. And then I get a message from LinkedIn from Edwin. Well, it was Edwin's deal. And I was like, this is it. This is what I've been looking for. And so that's the reason I clicked on this morning. And this makes my second time around. I do want to be a facilitator. I feel like I'm a good facilitator. I did this when I was helping train mediators or whatever. And I find that, and I've told people this before, every profession has their own language. And if you're not in that profession, it's a foreign language to you. So, as I said before, what we call empathetic listening, mediation, we call active listening. And, when you're saying back to what the person has said, we call that rephrasing. And I think it was you, Shannon, that said something about people feeling heard. And that's a big deal in mediation. Because once you get through the introduction of whatever and you have the parties there, the first thing you do is you let them, we call it venting or telling your story. And once people, because I've been in okay. I'm pausing.
Yes, thank you. So you said a lot of important things. I'm trying to make sure that I cover all of them, but you were trying to find this for a while. It sounds like you went through this training and knew that it was valuable at the time, but wasn't the right moment to like focus as much as you wanted to maybe on it. And so you're happy to find this again and you really value it. And something about it, well, these are my own words, but that you resonate with it. You consider yourself a good facilitator. And so, the kind of language and format we're using here, it can be closely mapped on to your career and as a mediator. And so you might have different words to refer to like what we're doing here, but it's a lot of the same principles is what I'm hearing. So
Exactly. And venting or telling your story in mediation is very important, especially when the parties are emotional, and I tend to do more civil than family. I don't like family mediations for a number of reasons. And when the court orders in the mediation and they don't want to be there, once you get through the introduction and you give them the opportunity, well, you set the rules first. When one is talking, nobody can interrupt, no cursing, whatever. And you can just see the release and the decrease in emotion once they tell their story, and even more when I rephrase and acknowledge. I don't have to agree, but acknowledge what they're saying and let them know that I've heard what they said. And I have a mantra I tell people sometimes. There's a difference between understanding and agreeing. So I can understand you does not mean that I have to agree with you.
So what I heard you said right there is that when you're serving as a mediator, it can get really emotional. And I think maybe sometimes what I understood you saying is some types of mediation more than others, like maybe family mediation can get more emotional. But that you found, like, once you set the rules in the framework and once they start telling their story, you can see the release and the decrease in emotion. But even more so when you acknowledge what they said. And so
Yes,
just that simple understanding, not necessarily agreeing, but just telling them you heard them.
exactly, exactly. So I look forward to the training. I hope I become a mediator, and I hope become a good mediator.
Caleb Linden Terrell
Okay.
Jenkins.
Sorry about that.
So that last part, I hear you saying that you hope to become a mediator and hope to become a facilitator and mediator, I guess, or bring the facilitation into the mediation.
Yes, I feel heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, do I pick?
Now Shannon, since Shannon was the listener, Shannon becomes the speaker and she selects her listener.
I'm better to listen.
Okay. So I'll select Edwin. Are you still in?
I'm in it. Yep, I'm
Okay.
listening.
All right. So I'm just sort of thinking about what's already been said by everybody, and it's just fascinating to hear about how people are going to take all the same information and bring it into different contexts. And it's like almost hard to think of any context where this wouldn't be helpful, where there's people and it's necessary for them to feel heard. So I guess my mind is busy thinking about that, and yeah, and just kind of staying in the professional realm more than going into how personally I think helpful that this could be.
So you've been here listening to everyone, just seeing where they're going with this and how they're wanting to apply it. And you're seeing that this really relates to any relationships, any sort of relationships, and you're more interested in staying in the professional versus the personal family field.
Yeah, and then, but having said that, there are instances, especially in the present time with COVID and all the different perspectives, whether that be with healthcare or politics that are coming out and fueling such strong emotions and kind of aggression and us versus them type of stuff, even within the same family, that it can be so useful just to go into default mode of active listening. Like, okay, I might be listening to my brother and he's saying something again that I don't agree with, but I'm just going to say back what I heard. And, I just think that's invaluable in those difficult situations.
So around these conflicts, around, for example, COVID, you're seeing how this could be really helpful, like with your brother or family members, where you could just reflect back and listen to them, and it could really help with addressing this polarization and conflict.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would save me from some more, or save me and them from some more awkward and maybe otherwise undesirable situations. Because at the end of the day, we might have differences in opinion, but if we're being honest with ourselves, is it really worth burning a bridge of an important relationship? I think mostly people would say it's not at the end of the day, even if they get caught up in the heat of the moment and do get polarized. So
you're really seeing what's really important is the relationship. How do you maintain the relationship and not get caught up in this polarization and this splitting of the relationships? You can see this on maintaining relationships.
Yeah.
Helping with that.
Yeah, it makes me curious too. I mean, I feel very heard by that. And I guess I'll close out my share by just stating that I'm just curious, like, as all of us have kind of shown up to this training, like, is it something that other people have seen? Like, it makes me wonder, is it something other people have observed, coworkers, family, etc. So, yeah, so thank you. I do feel heard by that.
Okay, so in closing, you're just wondering if other people have had that similar experience about the polarization and how to maintain relationships. And so just some curiosity of how it's for everyone else. And you feel heard. Yeah.
Thank you
I'll
so much.
speak- Yeah, thanks. Let me get that start here. So I'll speak to Miss Tiffany.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the first thing I want to address is what you were saying about not feeling heard, that you listen to others and not feel heard. And that's one thing about the empathy circle is everyone gets a chance to feel heard. So I think that's what we're trying to create is a culture where you don't just become the listener listening to everyone else, but that you also have your time to be heard to your satisfaction, which I think is really about building that relationship that Shannon's talking about.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
So what did
I
you
don't
hear
talk a
me
lot.
say? You just want to reflect back what I was saying, what you heard me say?
Yeah, kind of blending myself and Shannon and just basically I'm not feeling heard. And how do I make sure that I am? I think I'm actually making, first of all, is that what you said?
Yeah, so you just want to
That's what I
reflect
got.
back. That's fine. I feel
Yeah.
heard with that. So
Yeah.
the thing is like in a work environment, if a work environment can learn this practice of the empathy circle, people, you practice it. And then if you don't feel heard, you can say, oh, let's have an empathy circle. I don't feel heard here. Can we have an empathy circle? So it becomes sort of a tool that you can call on. So I think it can really help or even in families. If families are in conflict, they can say, oh, we're getting a really intense conflict here. Let's go back to the empathy circle. And that sort of becomes your sort of fallback, position for structure to maintain everyone feeling heard.
Yeah, I'm glad you told me about that because I've never done that before.
Mm-hmm. So you just want to reflect, what did you hear me say though? What did you hear me say?
How important it is to propose that we begin listening to each other and have greater empathy. I've never done that before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always assuming.
And have the tool, like the empathy circle as a tool, as a fallback tool to help support that listening.
Right. Okay. And to use it as a tool to help support it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I also heard so that is also in mediation is if you use the empathy circle in mediation, you can people who are in conflict with the circle, and it can do a lot for the mediation. But the next step is to teach everyone the skills of facilitating their own empathy circle. Because usually in mediation, people come, they get mediated by the mediator, but they're not learning the skills of how to mediate their own environment. So if there's a family conflict, you're helping mediate that family conflict, but the family members need to learn how to hold their own empathy circles in their own families on an ongoing basis. So I think that's another additional piece to the mediation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So learning how to do it so we can take it back and do it for our family. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
in any environment. Yeah, I totally heard. Thank you. So now you select your listener and you have 4 minutes.
Okay, I will choose Kevin. And I identify with Sharon in the polarization. I identify with Edwin of how important it is to take the tools and, not just trust someone else to do it, but to actually do it yourself. Yeah, so not just think that you need a mediator, but how can I become one as well? And I came here specifically for that, to learn how to make sure I do it to other people, but to also model it so it can be done back to me. And that's the biggest thing, because I don't want to get burned out and I don't want to get bitter, because that's what can set in when you're giving and you're not getting it back.
So I'm hearing you. This is a lot. I'm hearing that you definitely empathize with what everyone was saying in reference to having a tool, also to be able to give the tool so you're not burnt out, but teaching the tool so that people can be heard and hear to be heard, but you can also emphasize it to everyone in a way that they're taking benefit of it. And I think what helped me a little bit more is like to give me a smaller chunk of what you mean. Is that helpful for me at least?
What'd you say?
You give me a if you continue on with a smaller chunk.
He's asking that you pause more often, say a little bit and then pause so he can reflect back.
Okay. Yeah, just wanting it done back to me. I think I'm assuming that I'm going to get back what I'm putting out there, not really working.
Okay, so assuming that, you want to get back what you're given, you feel as though you're being very empathetic to everyone else, but it's not reflecting back in the same positive way, and you want to be able to be heard in that way as well.
Right. At least that's what I've been told, that I'm empathetic. I don't know for sure. That's what I've been told.
So you're hearing it being said, but you're not really experiencing it, that you're being told it, but internally you're not experiencing the fact that you are being heard or being empathetic. It's just more like a lot of noise that someone says to you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I feel heard. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Linda, I think I haven't spoken to you. Have I spoken to you yet? Have I chose Ms. Linda, or have I spoken to you yet? Or have I spoken to you yet? You're on mute.
I think you're muted.
Okay, I finally hit the right button.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think I spoke to you yet, correct?
No, yes, you're right.
So I guess I want to talk about Texas. I hear a lot on the news, and I heard you mention it earlier. So I was also thinking about the same thing, as it's has such a dramatic impact, not only on Texas, my understanding, but the whole political outcome. I'm not fully versed on it. So I guess I'm trying to understand how such a thing can happen when it comes to that political outcome on so many levels.
Okay, what I hear you saying is that you picked me because I said I was from Texas, and you hope I can give you some insight onto what's going on in Texas and how that can impact the rest of the country in regards to the voting rights issue.
Yes. So when I think about the voting rights issue in Texas, I'm in Philadelphia. So it's already, one concept or mindset that I have. I'm trying to understand the other side, how that changes the political view if there's no real action in reference to voting that's been done in the past.
Okay, so you're from Philadelphia, so you're a Yankee, and you're trying to understand how what happens or is happening in Texas affects the political views of just you, not just you, but other people, if I understood that correctly.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm saying. And I guess in Texas, what are the steps that are going to be changing in reference to so many people who are now speaking out for the voting, where in Philadelphia, we have the same issues, but it's like it's a different climate. Okay.
What I hear you saying is that Philadelphia citizens are having the same issues as the people in Texas, but it's a different, it might not be as, it's not as visible or vocal as what's going on here in Texas.
Yes, I definitely hear that. I'm feeling hurt in reference to trying to get an outcry understanding to, one location to another location, and just how different the views are, when at the end of the day, everyone is still human beings.
What I hear you saying is that everyone is still a human being, and but in regards to voting, how different the views can be. I'm not really sure I heard what you said the last time. I'll just be honest. It's not digesting. Can you repeat it, please?
Okay, sure. Just understanding how, in Texas and Philadelphia, I can only come from my viewpoint and understand with the voting rights that you spoke about and how I feel about it here, how so many of us still need to vote but then there's so many of us that speak the rhetoric but don't do anything about it. You know, is that such a powerful thing in Texas? I know in Philadelphia, it tends to lag as well.
Okay, what I hear you saying is there's a different approach to this voting rights issue. It seems to be more vocal and out there in Texas as opposed to what's going on in Philadelphia. And a lot of people will rally and speak about voting, how important it is in the voting rights. But then when it comes to actually acting on it and voting, you're wondering if it's the same, if they have that same passion.
Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay. And we can talk about that later.
I think you would enjoy that. I heard you earlier. Was that okay, Evan?
He's not listening.
I didn't catch that. If you can, sure, you can connect afterwards, or you can talk now about it. Just select whoever you want, Linda, and keep the conversation going, or speak back to Kevin for that matter.
That's what I was wondering, when you have people speak within the circle about different things, are you able to speak on those things within the?
You can speak on anything that you want. It's like any topic that's live for you. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can select whoever you want. If you want to speak to Kevin again, you can, or you can select someone. It's nice when people speak to different people to, you know, kind of mix it up a bit, but it's your choice to.
And I like to make an observation, if you don't mind. It's real hard. Well, I found it challenging to listen to Kevin and not want to go further than what he was saying, to explain, to get into it, as opposed to just listening to him.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that when you were listening to Kevin, you found it really hard not to sort of add to what he was saying and to go into it. So you had to kind of hold yourself back, and it was difficult.
And I can see how I can see how when you were speaking earlier about not only holding a circle, but if someone gets very passionate about what they're saying or what they're hearing, how, you know, that circle could get off track. Because like I say, it was real challenging because I am a political junkie, and I wanted to really get into a conversation with Kevin, and I was like, just pay attention, Linda, pay attention, and don't add. And my other thing was, don't add to it.
So you're a political junkie, and when you're hearing that about the politics, you just wanted to really jump into it and add it, but you had to really hold yourself back and say, don't add anything, just reflect back. And so you can see that struggle that people might be having.
And so I appreciate that, because I was like, yeah, I can see it happening.
So you can really see it happening, how you had to hold that. And so I'm actually your listener right now.
Yes, I got that. Yeah, I picked up on that.
So you can really see how that could really happen with other people too, that they have to sort of hold themselves back.
Yes. So I'm really looking forward to the training to become a facilitator, because I think I don't think you have a problem once you set the parameters and the boundaries and invite people to speak or tell their story, and tell everybody on the front end that everyone is going to have an equal time to speak. I can see how that can work.
So you're really appreciating is the structure that if there's a structure that everybody agrees to, and that you can tell everyone that you will have time to be heard to your satisfaction. You can see the benefits of that.
Yes. But again, with listening to Kevin and wanting to conversate rather than listen, I can see how, you know, if an individual in the circle does not have control over their emotions, and you say something that triggers that emotion, it can go off track. And so it's going to be interesting. I don't want you to go into it now, but it's going to be interesting, I'm sure, in the training to demonstrate how to bring the group back, put them back on track.
Yeah, so you can really see how if people are passionate, that they'll just go off track, they'll break out of the structure. And so you're just interested in how do you facilitate and keep people within the structure. So you're really interested in that aspect.
Yes, so I feel fully heard. Okay, I feel good.
Feeling good.
I'm a jokester too, so this is good, yeah.
So I'll speak to Shannon then. We hit the stopwatch here. Yeah, that's part of what the training is about, is you learn how, as a facilitator, how to keep people in the process, because that's one of the things that exactly is Linda put her finger on the issue, that when there's a lot of passion, there's conflict, people just want to jump in and stop holding the structure. And then once that happens, is all hell breaks loose, right? Everybody goes out, it becomes a big shouting, screaming match. So that's part of the facilitation, is how to bring people back into the process and keep the process structure going.
So what I heard you saying, it was in response to what Linda was saying about kind of underlining the importance of keeping people in this process and how important that is, because you're kind of expressing an agreement that yes, like when there's a lot of passion, there can be also conflict, and then that's when people like lose the structure. And so I think that's basically what you were getting
Exactly. Yeah. So one thing is like in mediation, you don't want to wait until the people in conflict come into the circle with the conflict. I mean, this can help that, but that's why it's helpful, for example, in a family, to be practicing the empathy circle when things are going well. It's like, let's have an empathy circle about how your day was, what's something really enjoyable about your day. So you start sharing those positive stories, you develop trust in the process. So when the conflict happens, everybody already has trust and practice in the process.
So what I heard you sharing there was a helpful tip, that it can be helpful to learn the process in any kind of a family unit or it was
Work
the
or wherever,
yeah, or work, and when things are feeling positive, and then that solidifies the structure so that when the conflict comes along, it's something you can rely on, or the participants can rely on.
And the other aspect is we want high profile people. So like the representatives in the assembly, whatever, Senate in Texas, with the left and right, to have empathy circles with each other, right? So that they could model the leadership, modeling having constructive dialogue with each other on these topics. And so, like, for example, my congressman here has agreed to take part in an empathy circle with a Democrat, with a Republican Congress member. So we're trying to set that up. So if we could have Trump and Biden have an empathy circle, or Pelosi and whoever, the others, if we could have them empathy circles, then all the community can see that and see how constructive dialogue can work.
That's awesome. So you were saying that there's there's this desire to have high profile people right now, people in the Senate, and that there's even been congressmen that have agreed to partake in this. And what if like Trump and Pelosi and Biden could get together and do this? I mean, I would love to see that. And so that's what I heard you talking about right there.
Yeah, so the empathy circle is so foundational practice. It has so many applications. I think is really sort of a foundational practice that's quite culturally transformative. That's what we're working on.
So you were saying how transformative it would be to bring this into these various contexts.
Yep, I feel deeply heard. Thank you.
Good. All right. So I will, I don't know who hasn't listened for a while, but Kevin, would you be my listener? I'm not sure Kevin's listened in a while.
Yes.
What's most alive for me right now is I was imagining what it would be like to see Biden and Trump and Pelosi in empathy circle. I have gotten much more interested and involved in politics ever since it's felt like so much is on the line for the past roughly 18 months. And so that feels really alive for me now, just thinking about what a paradigm shift that would be, how different, like how much that, I mean, it would be like almost like an alternate universe almost is what I'm thinking, but I wish it was more something that I could more imagine, a world where this was more commonly used to come to an agreement. Or
So what I hear you saying, this is very exciting, and reflecting off of what Edwin, which we were speaking earlier in reference to that paradigm of political parties coming together, the ones that are recently, how dramatic that could be, but how powerful it could be to see that, and just the awesomeness could be very exciting. But then to use this in that kind of way could be, very exciting, but also a learning experience.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. And just thinking about the culture that we live in and how much I feel, whether or not this is shared by everyone else, that often differences are emphasized over where can we find common ground, where can we feel heard, what are our commonalities. And so that, I think that's part of what makes something like this powerful is that it would occur against that kind of a backdrop where not a lot of coming together is going on. There's a lot of separating and division.
Right. And what I'm hearing is this would be a great platform for people to come together, because there's not a lot of commonalities or platforms now where people can come together to actually to listen, to speak, and actually have time to reflect back on that. Because with culture the way it is, we are so divided in different ways that this is just another opportunity to bring society back together to hear and listen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I feel. And I remember when I first started training to be a therapist, when my supervisor was trying to help me to become a therapist, and she said to me at one point, I was struggling in a way that I wasn't really fully aware of, and she was trying to explain to me how to improve. And she's like, listening is not, it's a complicated thing to do. It's not as easy as most people would say. Listening is something you develop over time, and it's an art form. And I always thought that was really interesting, because at the time I didn't appreciate that it was complex. It seemed very simple. And so I sometimes go back to her saying that.
But this experience here helps you reflect back in reference to where you learn that it's the art form. Like a great piece of art, it takes time. The mosaic wasn't developed in one day. It took periods of time and practice. And the more and more you practice it, the more you embrace the idea of listening and knowing how empathic you become to really deeply hear what someone is saying in reference to what they may speak or what they are saying. And your therapist and your supervisor is able to be very helpful. And now you're having a reflecting moment at this time on that.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Kevin. Thank you so much. I do feel heard by you.
Thank you. Tiffany. Miss Tiffany, how you?
You could just call me Tiffany. This because I work with students. I used to work with students. They call me Tiffany.
I guess I'm trying to be, I'm not sure how to do this in reference to making sure that I am being heard, that people are listening to what I'm saying and it's being reflected. Something I find it very challenging, because a lot of people are so deeply into their own thought that they're not able to get out their own way.
What I'm hearing you say is that you find it difficult to get empathy from people because they're usually preoccupied with their own thoughts. And they can't even get past themselves to even listen to you effectively.
Right, because I work with different groups as a therapist as well, and more or less staffing and dynamics, and they seem to be so traumatized, which is what I'll use at the moment, of a past event that brought me in, that they tend not to let that go to move forward. And they're always just talking about it over and over each other. So I'm looking at this as a platform to help them to slow down, to hear what they're saying.
Okay, so you're going to take what you learned here and model it to them about how important it is to practice the power of the pause.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think that's very helpful, because I do one-on-one easily, or I'm in a setting where I am an authoritative figure within it. But usually in my groups, I'm just there to help facilitate, and they have their own power struggle. So putting these specific rules out, it reminds me of a therapy called the Stalk, where instead of just being present, but being present for all, but teaching them to pause, to listen. Because I think people are always hearing their own voice, but never even listening to what they're saying.
So you want to empower them to show empathy in the form of listening to others and also being just listening to yourself.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm hoping that, you know, I can master this in a way to move forward with that. But then at least I'll feel as I'm being heard. So right now with some of the groups, it's like, why am I here? Because 3 months in, I'm still, you're not even hearing yourself. You know, so how to make those solid steps, I'm looking forward to those. And this is another tool to put in my toolbox to use.
Okay. This is what I'm hearing, and I'm not going to necessarily just restate what you said, but it seems like you want to, it seems like you want to move forward in a way that they're giving you what you're giving them so that everyone can feel like I'm here for a reason.
Yes, yes, I'm definitely feeling hurt. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You have the floor.
Okay. I suppose I'll converse with Linda because I've never talked to her before.
Okay.
I don't know. I just find myself just really trying to affirm, you know, why I'm here. But I think today what we're learning, and maybe Edwin can also support me on this, I think he's teaching us how to listen, because even I have slowed down just since joining on today. So I think we're sort of sharing what we want from this group, but I think the objective is also how to teach us how to listen. I think
Okay.
that's the objective.
Tiffany, what I'm hearing you say is that you weren't really sure what you were going to get out of today, but you're, as we go through this practice of speaking and listening, you're coming to understand that it's not, that what this training is about is how to listen, which means how to slow down and actually pay attention to what is being said.
Yes, I feel heard. And that's all that I have to say. Thank you, Linda.
Well, I want to tell you, Tiffany, I wrote down the power of the pause. I like that quote. So I got it. I took it. I'll give you, credit for when I use it.
Yeah.
So Linda, you select your listener.
Oh, who's not listened to me? Tiffany, Tiffany has not listened.
I have not listened to you.
Okay. What do I want to talk about? I want to talk about, I want to express my opinion, my personal opinion on the politics of today and how, as I believe Shannon was saying, it would be beneficial if our leaders, politicians, could participate in a empathy circle. I can't foresee it like Shannon. I think she's more of an optimist than I am. I think I'm more of a realist. But it would be helpful if they could put the politics aside, or especially the leaders of these different groups, the Republicans and the Democrats, could put those differences aside and the politics aside and actually listen to what the other party is saying. As I said earlier, there's a difference between understanding and agreeing.
Yes. Yes. Now, do you mind if I restate what you said, but
Yeah,
like more in my
that's
own
what
words?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's called
Yeah, you say it in your own words. You don't have to
Yeah.
repeat word for word. It's just, what did you hear in your own words?
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Basically, what I'm hearing Linda say is that if you want us as a people to be more empathetic, then maybe our leaders, political leaders, should give it a try as well, in a sense.
It would be nice if they modeled that, the emphatic listening.
Mm-hmm.
As I said before, I'm more of a realist, which means I don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So basically, you're saying that's what you like to see, but you don't think that you will.
Correct. Yes, you heard that. But as leaders and politicians, I struggle with the word leaders and politicians because to me that's a difference. But so you know, but as leaders or politicians, if they would model that behavior on a consistent basis, I think it would help in bringing this country back together as a unit, not necessarily agreeing on every point, but understanding the other person's point of view.
So you didn't necessarily see politicians as synonymous with leaders. However, they could, if they modeled empathetic listening better, then you could see politicians as leaders. Is that fair?
Yes, and I could I can see how modeling that behavior would help bring the country together as a unit, where we all don't have to agree, but we can at least understand the other person's point of view.
In other words, if you act like a leader, you know, per your definition, then you can get the respect of one and you'd actually have people following you.
But in our political climate today, I think that we are so tribal or in a tribal mode that it will be probably the next generation before we see any real cohesiveness as American citizens.
I may have to ask you what you mean by tribal mode, because I have not ever heard of that before.
Okay, tribal is we're in our own corners. You got the Republicans, that's a tribe, and the Democrats, that's a tribe. And these tribes are not gonna, that's what I mean, tribal mode.
Do you believe that there's still, and you believe that there's still time that this next generation can get it right, because the current one, not so much?
Exactly. I'm done now and I feel hurt. It's over.
Yeah, it's your turn, Tiffany. Select your listener.
Oh, Edwin.
Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah. I haven't spoken to you before. You know, again, I just want to make sure that I'm correctly modeling things to other people the way I want to be treated, and also setting up boundaries for when they aren't, or making myself clear and when I'd like to be heard better.
So you'd like to set boundaries for hearing others, but also how you would like to be heard yourself, and have clear boundaries and understanding there.
Yes, I just need them to be very clear so that, you know, it won't be unfair of me to expect something of them and they have no clue that I was expecting it.
So you want to set clear boundaries of what's expected for others, so that the boundaries are clearly laid out for them. And
yes, just to be able to clearly communicate so that people can hear me clearly, and then I can hear them clearly too.
so you're wanting to have clear communication, be able to express your kind of how you'd like to have the relationship or the boundaries be.
Yes. And that's all that I had to say.
Okay. Then I'll speak to, let's see, have about 5 minutes here left before we go back to the full group. So I'll speak to Kevin.
Yes, Evan.
Yeah, that's one thing with the empathy circle. It's a clear set of rules. It's how are we going to structure our conversation, and it really helps to have some clear rules and boundaries, because otherwise, you know, normal conversations, whoever is the most dominant, aggressive speaker tends to dominate. So it's good. So the rule is whoever is the most dominant person can kind of control the conversation, versus, hey, we're going to have a structure where everyone gets heard sort of more equally.
So what I'm hearing you saying with Empathy Circle, it allows for rules and structure. It allows for equal voice across the board, so that it's not the most dominant person who gets to speak all the time. everyone gets an opportunity because the way the rules and the way the structured empathy circle is laid out, it allows for that fluency.
Exactly. And in my family, we have my extended family, you know, my parents, brother, sister, and their families. We have family empathy circles, and we'll go like we've had empathy circles like for 4 hours. And the first couple hours, we have the rules and the structure, you know, firmly enforced with little time and everything. But there comes a point where it's internalized and it shifts, the energy changes. So everyone is more sensitive, and you don't even need the rules at that point because it's sort of like internalized. So we're going to be sure to hear everyone, you know. So.
One thing I'm hearing you saying, even with your family, it started out as small chunks, but as it grew to larger chunks, people became more empathic in reference to not actually needing the time, that they was willing to really listen and not know that there was a time frame, and it was more structured, that like, now this person has stopped speaking and I understand them, I can reflect back, and there was no over talk. And before you knew it was 4 hours later. So it was more, you know, internal happening. So it became more organic in itself.
Exactly. Yeah, organic is a good word for it. So it's what happens is you practice this and you sort of internalize the listening, right? You even find that maybe in your daily, after you do the training or do a lot of empathy circles, you start taking the mindset into your daily life so that when you're talking to people, like at a party or something, you have more space to listen to them, you know, and maybe even, you know, subtly reflect back what they're saying. So you start taking this mindset and way of being into your daily life.
So what I'm hearing is like, so more exposure to the empathy circle allows for an internal growth, that you become a real good listener, where you become more present. And within that listening, now you're able to have a different dialogue for the person you're speaking to, and actually can communicate on another level because you're hearing them instead of that old narrative, hi, I really didn't expect you to say hi back.
Exactly. Yeah. And then what happens is also, I find that we all need to be heard, right? Just as human beings, we need others to listen to us. And if we don't get that in our daily lives, there's this craving and a struggle to be heard. But in the empathy circle, everyone gets heard, and you start feeling almost like your empathy battery, right? So your empathy battery is like fully charged. You don't have that craving of needing to be heard in every situation. You have more space to listen to others and bring them into it. So this is also fulfilling our own empathy battery, you know, metaphorically. Yeah.
Okay. I love the metaphor in reference to the battery, in reference to that. We want to be heard as human beings. This kind of empathy circle allows for that, and it allows us to be heard, but also listening, and it fulfills an unmet need as it changes us over time, and everyone wants to do it. And they just don't know it at this time, but it's there for us. And this
Exactly.
Is
And I feel fully heard. Thank you, Kevin. I just closed the room, so everybody's going to be popping back in within about a minute. So just to give you a heads up. So I want to thank you. This was really delightful discussion and conversation. So thank you all for having taken part in it.
Thank you all for your time. I love it.
Thank you.
Oh, we're supposed to do this, aren't we?
Oh, we're going to do it at the end, but it's
Awesome.
We'll be doing it at the end with the full group too. But yeah, doing the mirrored motion. That's supposed to be good too. When you do mirrored motion, that helps build empathy and yeah, so it's very good practice.
And Linda, thank you for your compassion and resolve and control.
Ooh, it was hard. Ooh, it was hard. Listen to the baby.
All right.
Thank you, Lou. We got cut off though.
Yeah.
Okay. And was Emmanuel, did he drop out, or is he?
He did wind up getting disconnected. If he tries to connect back in, please connect him in. He was.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just did. Okay.
Okay, great.
Yeah, my computer's a
Yay,
little
there he
slow for
is.
some reason. That's the problem, is when people drop, I don't recognize them, I don't let them in. So I don't know if it can others, yeah. So it gets a little confusing. So hopefully everyone's coming back in. And so what we want to do now is go around and hear from everyone, maybe about 30 seconds, report just, how was your experience, any learnings, insights that you got from your circle? And Bill, do you want to call on people to?
Sure, I'll just go around my screen. Linda. You're muted, Linda. Linda, we can't hear you. You got on mute.
They'll just start talking. Today, today was my second go round, and it was a different experience. Which the first one was good. This one was good as well. I did learn to appreciate how when doing a circle, empathy circle, you can there can be trigger points that other people aren't aware of that can happen, and it's going to be real interesting, as I told them in my group, because I do want to be a facilitator, to see how, the tools that are used to bring everybody back on track, because I almost got off track.
Sure, that's fun. That happens, and that's what the facilitation training is for. Great. Shannon?
Thank you so much. This is also my second empathy training, and I think I learned a lot, and I was actually surprised as well about how different it was this time, and in a good way, in a different way. And so I'm just looking forward to further participation to see how things evolve and what new insights can be gleaned from the process. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Shannon. Kevin?
Again, it was exciting for me my second time. I enjoyed the nuggets that come out of it, but also learning to be mindful and control for what you say and how it is impactful throughout the conversation.
Thanks, Kevin. Ms. Tiffany? You're muted.
Thank you.
There you go.
I learned how to listen better. Listen to do active listening on today.
Great. Great. Shyla?
Yes, it is different each time. I agree with what some of you said. But what is constant every single time is that we, through active listening, we're able to connect with each other in not a superficial way, but in a meaningful way. Yeah. So that to me is the key, to be able to communicate and connect with new people every single time and have it be meaningful to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Regina?
Yes, I really enjoyed the process. I really enjoyed my group. I think I had a beautiful group for today. It was perfect. And it's always, to me, a blessing when you can allow someone just to be who they are. As I mentioned in the group, we're always so busy doing, and it just offers that person that opportunity just to be and really connect back with who they are and how they're feeling in that moment. So I'm looking really forward to meeting this group and learning more of these skills.
Great, Regina. Great to have you here. Graham?
Well, I'm thinking about Shyla's words about the ease and swiftness with which you can make deep connections, and that they're meaningful to me, meaningful to other people, all in different ways, but meaningful. And so I have lots of takeaways from today. That's just one of them. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham. Lou?
Yeah, it's so moving to me to witness people who don't know each other get together and start listening to each other. And when I see them making an effort to understand each other, which is like so rare in life, to watch people actually like try to understand each other, it's beautiful, and it's so nourishing to my soul. So I'm very grateful to have been with the people that I was with. And Emmanuel, I just want to say to you, because you had, I think, a technical difficulty and had to drop out of a circle. I'm so grateful to see you back here. And I'm so grateful for what you shared with all of us. So with me or us in the circle. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, Lou. Francesca?
Yes, I also want to echo what Shyla and Graham, I think it was Graham that shared, just, you know, how you can get together with people you don't know, utter strangers, and not feel like strangers at all after the sharing, and just some of the wonderful insights and topics that, you know, can surface. And I mean, I had so much I was inspired to share about that I couldn't actually get to. So yeah, it's really enriching, I find, this process. Thank you so much.
Thank you for it, Jessica. Richard.
Yes, Edwin, thank you. Well, I'm really overwhelmed. I absolutely loved this meeting. I loved the breakout room. And I'll just share this. I think this is a victory over COVID, because without COVID, I think we wouldn't be here. So this is one good thing about COVID. And thank you, Edwin, for letting us share our info. I hope we still will be back, you know, with this training, and feel free to stay connected. So thank you, guys. Thank you, Edwin, for hosting and organizing this. It's really wonderful.
Great. Well, good. Great to have you here, Richard. Lupe.
This is my first time entering Empathy Circles, and it was really great. Everyone in my circle said so many wonderful, interesting, and opened up pieces about themselves that landed very differently to people, but definitely saw the healing process of it. And I look forward to continuing.
Great, Lupe. We look forward to having you. Charity.
Yes, for me, in our group, we found that we were coming from different angles, and yet we understood what each person was trying to say and reflecting back. And I think it's quite a rich tool that I'm looking forward to learn more and to use more. And this is my first time, and I'm already excited.
Great. We're excited to have you. Michelle.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, to really insightful circle with, yeah, that I think the thing that came up the strongest for me from this one is really that we're changing culture, like, you know, building a culture of empathy is changing the culture from the old, like, patriarchal dominant culture into like an equal, oneness, compassionate, empathic culture. And for me, that's really sacred work. It's really important. And I think it's the most important thing that all of us can do in our lives. So I'm really grateful for it.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Artur, if I correct.
Hello, Bill. Hello. Thank you for the being in the circle. The circle was I have this feeling of being connected, and the appreciation of different persons create one thing that is wonderful. That it's what Michelle says. Empathy transforms in empathy, and that is the most interesting experience I have in the group.
Thank you. Maureen.
Yes, I like what Richard said there. It's the victory over COVID. I always see the circle too as a victory over those systems which are bent on dividing people. And it's helping, maybe we are creating connection. A nice way to spend a Saturday evening. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Maureen. Ralph.
Well, one of the things I take away is that I had to be the facilitator. Not had to be, I wanted to be. And I'm usually the one who's breaking the rules, but now I had to enforce them. So I discovered capacities within myself to gently refer to the process and to be held by the process. It was gorgeous. I could write a case study about it. And it was only a short while. So it was wonderful. And following up on Richard, we have a new term, perhaps, pan-empathy. That's it.
Great. Thanks, Ralph. Gloria.
Yeah. What can I say? It's all been said before, but tonight has been an opportunity to learn, to observe and understand. And I think particularly we had one man in our group, so we all wanted him. But he's actually was very open, and I know this is true that a lot of men don't communicate. And I think that just by this tonight, there's a movement now to encourage people to talk more, and particularly to get more men to open up, because of COVID, much more so, people experience mental health, depression, and I'm sure it's happening in your world as well. So I just thought it's a marvelous opportunity, and I'm glad that I'm here. Thank you.
Great. We're glad to have you here as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, Raid, right?
Sorry, yes, that's correct, right?
Okay.
So this is my first time. First of all, I met amazing people. It was a candid conversation between all of us. We opened up to one another. We saw the structure of Empathy Circle in motion, and we practiced it, and we got some corrections during our turns. We're in some new setups, such as fishbowl, and which means it's 4 or 5 people doing the empathy circle while others are watching. If you have a bigger setting, especially in corporate world, and I personally learned something new called the compassionate interruption. If somebody's taking forever, you stop them and you mirror their words so that you can let them feel that they were heard. And maybe that will, shorten a little bit their long debates, where you match up fairly quickly. I'm interested in seeing what's next. So, thank you, guys.
Great, thank you, Bonnie.
Hi, this is my first time here, and I want to echo what everyone else has said about finding meaning and connection with others, and seeing the value in this. Also, what I really took away from this was I could see how this really opens up hearts and minds of people, and because we can actually see and understand people where they are at the moment. And also, one of the big things that I took away towards the end was the idea that when we hear ourselves echoed back, it kind of allows us to really reflect on our own thinking and process that. And like I said, that I think to me, that's the biggest benefit, because it opens up our minds a little bit more, and allows us to really question, what's there, and open up our world a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, Ladisha?
Hello, it's Lydia. But
Lydia,
anyhow,
okay, sorry.
It's okay. So we had a different group. There were Maureen, Lupe, Richard, Gloria, Francesca within the group, and we were pretty different regarding the gender, regarding the age, regarding the nationality, from the different countries of origin, and we all understood each other, I think, quite fine, and enjoyed this session. So what I'm getting from this empathy circle is that we all can understand each other if we really want to.
Great to have you here. Aljazi.
Yes, so this is my second empathy circle, but actually it was different this time. So this time I get to learn how to utilize the empathy circle in different practices. which was actually interesting to see how we can utilize it in a form that is not formal, like the example that you gave us with the New York doctors that had to utilize the skills during COVID. So yeah, thank you everyone for the opportunity.
Great. Great being in the circle with you again. Emmanuel. I think Emmanuel might have, Emmanuel, can you hear us? We cannot hear you. You don't seem to be muted. Okay. All right. Okay. So I just want to express, like Lou, my appreciation, how touched I am by the effort that people make, overcoming, English as a second language, cultural differences, everything else, to try to create a culture of empathy. I just, it really touches my heart, and I thank you all. And I think Emmanuel might still be having problems. I'll hand it back to you, Edwin.
Okay, thanks, Bill. And for my report, as I always learn and grow from every empathy circle. I'm very grateful for the connection and everyone's participation. And someone also mentioned it always brings me back to our common humanity. No matter where we are, who we are in the world, there's this basic common humanity that we all share. And I think the Empathy Circle really helps to demonstrate that. I want to thank our facilitators too. We have a group of facilitators who have taken the training, who came to help facilitate the different empathy circles, breakout rooms. And then I also wanted to do, I'm going to put into the chat here, this is the cohort 12C, that's the sign up. And who was interested in taking the training? So Linda, Reed, Tiffany, Regina, Kevin. So not all of you have signed up, and I see Bonnie. So if you want to take part next Saturday, you need to go to that link to add your name and contact info. We still have space, for more participants. And then, so you can be sure to click on that link and add your name and contact info. And there's an application, a Google form application that you need to fill out. And then I'll send you an email and we'll have a little discussion sort of back and forth just about the logistics. And then we'll be starting at the same time next week, and it'll go for 5 weeks. You need to be able to commit to the 5 week to take part. Then let's see what else. This intro cafe we'll have that you can on next Friday. So for the next 3 Fridays, we'll be having this intro cafe. So if you're not ready to start with the training, you can join us on a Friday for this intro cafe. And if you check the events on LinkedIn or Facebook, you'll see the other ones. We have these on different days of the week. There's some on Mondays later in the month. We'll start on Mondays, then we'll have Fridays. And once the training cohort is over, we'll also be going back to having a few of these intro cafes. And do you have to be a member of Facebook? No, to see the schedule, you don't need to be a member of Facebook. The landing page is that link that if you want to put that in again, or if you have that handy, Bill, of the training website, that's the website that you'll want to go to. And actually there is a link to it from the link that I just put in too. You'll go to the training website. You'll want to bookmark that, and that has all the schedules, link if you follow different links to the different events. And there's other empathy cafes that others are holding too. So you're welcome to join any of those. And I think that's it.
Edwin, do we have a Facebook group? Does Empathy Circle have a Facebook group?
There's the cultureofempathy.com website, Facebook group. It's not a group, it's just a page. So once you become a facilitator, there's a Facebook group for the facilitators, but maybe we could open, maybe it'd be something to do, have a Facebook group for just general empathy circle discussions. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Okay.
So any other final questions before we close? Comments, Bill or Lou or any of the other facilitators?
Just grateful to everyone for being here.
Yeah, same here.
Me too.
And can I just add that I'm not sure that Ralph is aware, but Edwin likes to review the meeting afterwards with the facilitators. So Ralph would say.
Oh yeah, hang in. If you're a facilitator, stay for a debriefing after this. So we'd like to close with just some jazz hands. If your video is off, if you could turn your video on. That's just so we get a group portrait of everyone. It's always good to have that mirrored motion. It's good for empathy. So there we go. Okay, so see you next week or see you in the training. So looking forward to seeing you again.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Can I just confirm that you said we have to attend 2 of these before the training, or we can jump into the training?
You need to do 2 of these. So today counts as 1. So if this is your first one, you could come next Friday for another one.
Or you can hold it among your friends or family.
Yeah, do your own. Take the instructions, bring your family, friends together and hold an empathy circle. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
We just want you to have a bit of experience in the circle before you try to start facilitating. Take the training. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Richard, you have a question? Is that?
Yes, thank you, Edwin. I do have a question. My question was those meeting on Friday, where can I find the link or the info? Is it in some of the links you shared?
Yeah, the links that we shared, if you just follow those links, there's a lot of different links. And if you follow that link to the cohort sign up, there'll be a list of resources, links there. You follow those and you have to kind of poke around a little bit.
Great. Thank you, man. Thanks a lot.
Sure. Artur?
It's just the question is about which days of the week that the cohort, this training course, is it just going to be at the Saturdays?
The next one is just on Saturdays. We also have a cohort on Mondays, but that's in progress now, and it'll probably be about 7 or 8 weeks before a new cohort starts on Mondays.
Okay. So and there is no more, just Mondays and Saturdays.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, and then Fridays for the cafes.
Fridays.
Yeah, like for one like this, not a training, but an introductory cafe like this.
Okay, so a cafe. Okay.
Okay. Oh, let me hit the record. Is there any other questions? Trying to hit the record button. Pause.